I must warn you, what you're about to hear is low-key diabolical. It's frustrating. It's lengthy even though it probably shouldn't have been. Yes, we are doing a deep dive on JAX Taylor and Brittany Cartwright, two Bravo celebrities who turned a weekend in Vegas into one of the most tumultuous relationships and storylines ever. We're gonna talk about JAX's start on Vanderpump Rules, everything that unfolded with Brittany when she joined the Bravo universe, and what the hell is happening now. If you never watched Vanderpump Rules, first of all, why? But second of all, I hope this is a good overview to help piece together how this headline-making couple got to this point. And if you did watch this all go down, let's take a little walk down memory lane together. This was the golden age of Vanderpump Rules, and trust me, I will take any excuse to rewatch it. It was so messy. Let's get into it. So a little bit of background, Vanderpump Rules is a spin-off of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Lisa Vanderpump was a housewife, and then she got her own show about this restaurant she owns called SUR. It's an acronym for Sexy Unique Restaurant. The show follows the employees at the restaurant, and all of them are dating or have slept with each other. It's seriously such a mess. The majority of the women who work there have hooked up with the manager, Peter, in particular. Side note, if you ever go to SUR, even to this day, you will probably meet Peter. He is there all the time. Case in point, yeah. Okay, but back to JAX. He's a model slash actor slash bartender. Apparently he's been in Trump magazine and in the background of the OC. Very interesting. But from the jump, he's a total fucking menace, okay? For example, at the very beginning of the show, he's dating a waitress named Stassi and they're kind of on and off. She's 9 years younger than him and the vibe is that she's so much more mature. They end up breaking up because he cheated on her in Vegas. Classic. Then he shows up to Stassi's birthday and tries to fight her rebound, who just so happens to be a different bartender at SUR, who later gets fired for threatening to give a customer an atomic wedgie. Yes, if you have not watched this show, start now. It's not too late. Season 1. 4 seconds after they break up, JAX starts dating another SUR waitress named Laura Lee. She's a Juilliard-trained actress. Perhaps you recognize her from her breakout role as Kimberly in We're the Millers. Anyway, his relationship with Laura Lee is kind of a whirlwind. She has a bit of a troubled past. She's on her sobriety journey and just trying to do the best she can. And she gets super attached to JAX. They have this amazing physical chemistry, they hang out every day, and she even brings him to an AA meeting so he can hear about her addiction and sobriety journey. Unfortunately, this is a really bad idea on her part because as she's telling her story, JAX is starting to panic. She's talking about stealing from family members and doing whatever she could to get her fix, and he's like, hold up, is this girl about to be stealing my shit? Immediately after the meeting, he breaks up with her.
I don't know if it was the right time to bring up my feelings, but now is a good time as any. You know, usually she told me after a meeting she felt good.
She ends up quitting her job at SUR to do We're the Millers, and JAX continues to be an absolute menace to society. Once she's out of the picture, it comes out that during his relationship with Stassi, he actually hooked up with her best friend Kristen. Side note, Kristen was also dating JAX's best friend, so it was very much a double dip, a double betrayal. One night, Kristen and JAX were just hanging out on the couch watching Drive, and next thing you know,
he was at one end of the couch, you were at the under, you guys started touching each other's legs, you started sucking his he returned the favor and he banged.
I'm leaving out some more, dare I say, random women he sees throughout his time on the show because this man is never lonely. Well, he probably is, but he's never physically alone, is what I mean. There's Tiffany, his long-distance girlfriend in San Diego. There's Vale, the new hostess who he tries to hook up with even though he's dating Tiffany. There's Kristen's friend Carmen. I don't know. It's a lot. My point is that before Brittany Cartwright is even in the picture, JAX is very active. He's carrying the show in a lot of ways. He is the #1 guy in the group. He's entertaining, but my god, if you watch the show, he's not exactly the ideal partner. You know what I mean? I think most of us watched and said, I would never date anyone even remotely like JAX. But I guess someone out there missed the memo. Going into season 4, freshly bandaged, nose job and all, JAX announces that he is now casually dating a girl that he met in Vegas. A sweet southern girl from Kentucky named Brittany Cartwright. According to JAX, it's not serious in the slightest. At least he says as much to his mother, his boss, and all of his friends slash co-workers. And obviously this man has not lost his wandering eye. When Lala starts hosting at SUR, she and him develop a bit of a flirtationship, which is not a problem because remember, JAX and this Brittany chick aren't serious. I mean, she does come out to LA. He attempts to get her a job at SUR, which she unfortunately fumbles because no one told her that she would be interviewing with Lisa, so she showed up to the restaurant in a romper without a resume. And he introduces her to the whole group, who refuses to take their situationship seriously. For many reasons, but mostly because, again, he told them it wasn't serious. We're just hanging out. She's not moving out here, never moving in with me, no big deal. But it wouldn't be JAX without lying. See, as he's telling Lala that he wants to hook up with her and describing the ways in which he would, would, Brittany is preparing to move out of Kentucky and into Jax's Koreatown studio apartment. Because as it turns out, they actually are serious. Serious enough for her to not only leave her family and friends behind for their relationship, but also to walk the block sockless in a pair of Converse All-Stars to make her feet extra stinky for him. I'm serious, he likes feet. More on that later. Anyway, once she arrives in LA, Lala realizes that Brittany and Jax are a lot more serious than he was letting on. I mean, he was trying to hook up with her the night before Brittany's arrival. Mind you, obviously Jax has been minimizing the Lala flirtationship to Brittany as well. He's been telling her that Lala's been coming on to him, but he wasn't interested and told her that he had a girlfriend. But Brittany's been hearing from other people like Sir employees Sheena and Faith that Jax was making Lala believe that he was interested. So now Brittany wants to get the true story from Lala herself. And she attempts to do so on a group trip to Hawaii. She pulls Lala aside and just asks her straight up, "Were you flirting with my man and disrespecting our relationship?" Lala admits, "Yes, I was flirting with Jax and crossing lines, but I was only doing that because he said y'all weren't together." This is where Jax chimes in.
I've never not said that you and I are not dating. I would never not say that.
Brittany does not catch the double negative there and chooses to believe Jax, which infuriates Lala because she knows he's lying. Sheena, who witnessed the flirtation, sides with Jax and paints Lala to be this drunk over-exaggerator for God knows what reason. If you end up watching Vanderpump Rules, you'll see that she does this a lot. She sides with the guys a lot. She's a bit of a guy's girl sometimes. Also known as a pick-me. Anyway, despite everyone telling Brittany that she shouldn't trust Jax, she decides to throw all of that to the side because he hasn't done anything to her so far, besides flirting with Lala and minimizing their relationship, but he's lying about that, so how would she know the truth? The Nile is a river in Egypt. Eventually, Lala and Brittany squash their beef, and Brittany ends up getting that serving job at Sir after all. Jax even buys her a breast augmentation from the same surgeon who does his boob and nose jobs. He even gets to pick the size.
Wait, how big are you
She's
gonna
getting triple
go?
D's.
A full C, small D.
I'm not being inappropriate, but we discussed we like Sarah's.
Okay, Sarah's are way bigger than
Ours
a
are
D.
double D's.
If I'm gonna help finance this, I want them how I want them.
Everything is truly coming up Millhouse for Brittany and Jax, until a rumor starts floating around the restaurant that threatens Brittany's squeaky clean reputation. Rumor has it that Brittany hooked up with Jax's former flame, Kristen, during a night of partying. And while this wouldn't be surprising at all for Kristen, Brittany is horrified. She would never cheat on Jax, especially not with another woman and member of the friend group. Who the hell would ever say such a thing?
I open up the door, and guess what I see? I see Brittany and Kristen on the bed.
Oh, words cannot express how badly Brittany takes this rumor. She's in tears, denying everything. She spends the night at a friend's house because she can't stand to be around Jax. She threatens to break up with him and go back to Kentucky. Meanwhile, he doesn't give a fuck. This is LA. Matter of fact, this is Sir in West Hollywood. Everyone hooks up with everyone. It's really not a big deal. Eventually, Jax decides to let it go. He's not gonna bring up the story anymore, and it's time for everyone to move on. And by move on, I mean return to the status quo of Jax treating Brittany poorly on an episodic basis and getting away with it. A recurring theme in their arguments is that Jax financially supports Brittany and as a result carries certain expectations of her that she doesn't meet. She doesn't clean the apartment like she should. She doesn't express gratitude for her new boobs. She's just ungrateful and isn't living up to the trad wife ideals that he thought she'd bring with her from Kentucky. We get the standard shut up Jax from the whole group, Brittany calling him out, blah blah blah. The cycle continues, baby. But this is an interesting time in the show because this is when Brittany's mom Sherry visits for a sort of extended period of time. So we get a closer look at Brittany's family and how she was raised. Now, Sherry is a conservative Pentecostal woman. If you're not familiar with Pentecostalism, it's a Christian movement where you're gonna see people directly connecting with God by speaking in tongues. These are the churches where, you know, you have an illness and you go to the front of the church and the pastor lays a hand on you, you're overtaken by the Holy Spirit, and then you're magically healed. Maybe you're living a sinful life, right? And you need the demons cast out of you. So you go to the Pentecostal church to be delivered. That kind of thing. It's a little intense. That's just my opinion, okay? Look, I grew up Baptist, so no shade intended whatsoever, trust me. But it is a very conservative church. Historically, Pentecostal churches condemn homosexuality, which might explain why Brittany had such a strong reaction to the rumor about herself and Kristen. It might also explain why Sherry was so offended at Jax's birthday roast. Yes, the crew had a roast for Jax, and going into it, Brittany wasn't really concerned because she partied a lot and did crazy stuff when she was living at home, so maybe her mom wouldn't be so surprised by the kind of things they would would joke about. And at the event, Sherry seems to be taking it all in stride. No worries about stealing alcohol from Sir, sleeping with a bunch of women in and out of his relationships, and skiing the slopes, so to speak, with reckless abandon. Everything seems to be going well. Brittany even forewarned Sherry about the Kristen rumor, so when someone brings that up, she doesn't take it seriously. There's just one little joke that Jax's friend Tom Schwartz throws in that really throws her for a loop.
I mean, he's slept with many...
Son of a bitch.
Many women. And a few men.
No,
You know, there's many rumors floating around about Jax having a homosexual affair as a young model in Miami.
Sherry is shaken up by this. She brings it up a couple times to Jax, who kind of waves it off. Jax did live with a gay man in Miami, but he assures her that they were just best friends, nothing more. He's also super confused as to why she cares so much about this joke instead of every other horrific thing that his friends brought to light that evening. Sherry and Brittany both take his response as being overly defensive, and the fight explodes to the point where Jax storms out and once again accuses Brittany of freeloading. By the time Sherry heads back to Kentucky, she's wary. After all, Jax is a serial cheater and potential homosexual. But Brittany loves him, so it kind of just is what it is. It takes some time, but Jax starts to take the relationship more seriously. After months of Brittany explaining how important marriage is to her, he finally starts to agree. Maybe he is ready to lock this down for good. He even lets her family in on his plan, sharing ring designs and stoking a ton of excitement. Things are looking up once again. Little did we all know as Vanderpump viewers, little did Brittany know as Jax's potential life partner, things were about to get very, very bad. I would say in the history of Vanderpump Rules, the story that I'm about to relay to you is one of the worst. It's up there with Scandival. It's up there with Jax fucking his girlfriend's best friend / best friend's girlfriend. A rumor starts spreading around the friend group that Jax cheated on Brittany with a Sir waitress named Faith. The same one who told Brittany the truth about Jax's flirtationship with Lala. She was working as a live-in caretaker for a 95-year-old woman and started DMing with Jax on Twitter. One thing led to another, he wanted to see her, she invited him over, and voila, a hookup next to a sleeping elderly woman. To me, there was a smoking gun as Faith explained what happened to former Sir busboy and DJ James Kennedy.
It was like sucking my toe.
Oh my God!
Situation, like it was a situation.
A convenient narrative because, as we know, Jax has a well-documented foot fetish. Remember the smelly Converse All-Stars? Yeah, he did this shit. To make matters horrific, Faith says that they used no means of protection and now her period's late and she thinks she might be pregnant. So everyone's at this party talking about this alleged infidelity, and Brittany's like, "You don't think the rumor's true, do you?" And they're all just like, yeah, actually it probably is. This ain't our first rodeo. But Jax is completely denying everything, as per usual. He goes up to Faith and tells her, "You need to tell everyone this is untrue." Really? Why on earth would she do that? After all, Faith insists that she has proof of the hookup, although she doesn't say what the proof is and doesn't share it with the class. Regardless, Brittany is furious. If the rumor is true, she's moving out of their shared apartment and taking their 2 little Yorkies with her. It's interesting because the rumor seemingly confirms what Brittany already believed was happening. She tells a friend the next day that she had actually found a pair of fake eyelashes that didn't belong to her and had a feeling he'd cheated. And her feeling is finally confirmed when Jax admits that yes, he did fuck Faith next to that elderly woman. Once again, the rumor was true. Rotten Hill. Now Brittany's done. She officially breaks up with Jax and starts spreading the word that their turbulent relationship has finally come to an end. This is the part where we as audience members were thinking, finally, the straw has broke the camel's back and we are now freed from this nightmare. Unfortunately, we were wrong and it got worse. Brittany continued to sleep with Jax despite her declaration that he would rot in hell. In Jax's mind, this flipped the whole cheating situation into a positive. The man was getting laid more now that they were broken up than he had in recent months. It was like a reward, but Brittany found it difficult to give up on their relationship. Even post-breakup, she was hearing rumors from the girls that Jax had hooked up with Faith multiple times. Perhaps she wasn't even the only one he'd cheated with in recent months. But it wasn't enough. Jax wormed his way back in, and once again, he and Brittany had to explain to everyone that they were back together. Together, they felt like hosting a housewarming party at their new apartment would be a great way to debut their new and unimproved relationship. So everyone comes over, the drinks are flowing, and shit takes a turn for the worst. As it does. Remember Faith saying that she had proof of the hookup with Jax? Although she never shared it and Jax admitted to the cheating, this proof was about to make a little debut of its own. Turns out that James Kennedy stole the proof off of Faith's phone when he went to the bathroom and then passed it along to Lala. Lala then passed it along to Miss Ariana, who then decided to share it with the drunken Brittany at this housewarming party. Why not, right? The proof is actually an audio recording that Faith caught shortly after the hookup. Pillow talk, if you will. And in this recording, Jax is talking major shit about his relationship with Brittany. Now, they don't play this recording recording on the show, so you don't get the details of what Jax said, but a podcast called Vanderpump Rules Party allegedly got their hands on the recording and kind of reenacted it on their show. Here's a full transcript. You can see him telling her that he and Brittany aren't having sex, he doesn't like being with her, and he wants her to agree to a threesome. Unfortunately, Brittany changed her tune about the threesome after consulting the girls, and he had no choice but to cheat, I guess. Oh, and he's not actually interested in marriage. This recording is like the recording heard round the world. It sets off a chain of events that is actual chaos because everyone at this party is wasted. Brittany's furious. She puts the recording on the Bluetooth speaker and plays it for everyone. Now all the ladies are fuming. The boys run off. Truly nothing can be said to fix this shit show, although James kind of tried. Seems like Brittany's forgiveness of the cheating is over. She's pissed and he can rot in hell all over again. But despite even more backlash from the friend group and her mother, Brittany decides to work it out with Jax. Again, her only condition is that he starts going to therapy. At this point, even the audience is like, give me a fucking break, okay? We were tired, and yet she persisted. Was Jax actually gonna go to therapy? Was the recording accurate? Did he really feel like marriage wasn't for him? Well, his therapy was of the Reiki sort, so sort of. I don't know. He would talk to his Reiki healer, Kelsey, about his broken life and everything that was going on. He would kick Brittany out of the apartment for their at-home sessions. People actually started calling Kelsey the Jax Whisperer because he was so obsessed with her and listened to every word she said. But this newfound energy and zest for life made Jax think more and more about his trajectory and relationship with Brittany. He'd spent the majority of his adult life chasing dreams of being a model, bartending, and playing every single girl he'd ever been in a relationship with. Perhaps it was time to change the narrative. Jax received a text message about an exciting job opportunity in Tampa. What was the job opportunity exactly? It's a little complicated. I don't know if there ever is an actual job title, but this is what Jax says about it.
I got a job offer in Tampa working in hockey, doing client relations, social media, and marketing.
This whole job situation really throws a wrench into their relationship recovery because now Jax expects Brittany to pick up her life once again and follow him to Florida. It's honestly unclear if he considered her at all during this whole process. She's annoyed because she already moved from her hometown to Los Angeles to be with him, and now that she's settled and has a great support system, he's making her pick up and leave again. It's unfair for sure, but Brittany plans to stick by him. Until, of course, he actually decides to break up with her.
You deserve to be happy. You deserve to get married. You deserve to have kids. You deserve to have someone treat you like the princess that you are. And I just am not that person.
So what are you saying?
I am not good in relationships. You deserve a lot better than me. I just don't think we can be together anymore.
Brittany flees in an Uber. Jax heats up a frozen pizza and puts on his stories. I mean, it's a little fucked up, right? She forgives him for every single messed up thing he does, and then he breaks up with her. It's just not adding up. The season ends with Jax and Brittany completely split up. Jax even resigns from SUR for causing so many problems. And we, the audience, can finally take a nice deep breath because Brittany has said without a shadow of a doubt that she is not leaving LA, but she will have nothing to do with Jax forevermore. There it is. That's the ending we all hoped for. But it's not the ending we got, because by the time the season 6 reunion rolled around, tragedy had struck. Shortly after season 6 wrapped, Jax's dad died, and losing a parent completely rocked his world. It fundamentally changed him as a person. Sure, he'd cheated, most recently with Brittany's friend next to an incapacitated 95-year-old woman for whom Faith was supposed to be caring. It had been the latest attempt to self-sabotage and make Brittany break up with him. But now, after such a horrific life event, he had a conscience. Brittany was by his side every step of the way, and it brought them so much closer. Now, he planned to take their relationship seriously. He wasn't going to take the job in Tampa, and he was going to marry her sooner rather than later. In fact, the proposal happens pretty quickly among the crab legs and clam baskets at Neptune's net in Malibu. Jax is wasting no time. The whole friend group is a little suspicious that he's rushing things and going all in to cope with the loss of his father. But to Jax, he just has a new lease on life and wants to devote his energy to being the man that Brittany deserves. Or he found out that Brittany hooked up with her ex-boyfriend Aaron while they were split up, and he was so jealous that he had no choice but to go all in. The reasoning kinda depends on who you ask. Either way, the proposal goes off without a hitch. Brittany and Jax are getting married! Now it's time to plan a wedding and go to real therapy because Brittany still has a lot of resentment and paranoia from his cheating and mistreatment. But in couples therapy, Jax doesn't want to acknowledge anything from their past. He wants to restart the clock from his dad's death and forget about Faith and the recording and the belittling and holding the boob job flirting against with her, Lala, minimizing their relationship,
spreading the rumor that Brittany hooked up with
disrespecting
Kristen,
her in front of her own mother. You know, all that stuff. It's like Jax is sweeping all of their drama under the rug, and it's blatantly obvious to everyone but him. But Brittany is Jax's safe person, you know, his safe space. He He needs her to keep helping him navigate through life without his dad, so it is what it is. And he does seem to be treating her better and approaching life differently. She gets her wisdom teeth out and he actually takes care of her. He lets her have a nice engagement party. Honestly, he's just not being a total menace like we're used to. The bar is really low on this show. But just because Jax and Brittany are happy doesn't mean that everyone else is drinking the fireball. In fact, on their joint bachelor-bachelorette trip to Miami, the bottle service ladies aren't feeling too positive. They bring out a sign that reads, "Don't do it, Brittany," in big, bold letters. And while it's a hee-hee-ha-ha moment at first, it makes Brittany a little insecure. She's like, wait, am I a national laughingstock for marrying this guy? And you know what? I wouldn't say laughing stock exactly, right? Meanwhile, Jax is at the strip club, duh. But hey, it's a bachelor party. And now that the dark period of their relationship is over, it's time to plan a wedding. They settle on a beautiful castle in Versailles, Kentucky. Yes, it's Versailles, not Versailles. This way, Brittany's family could easily attend, and they could tap their local pastor as an officiant. But when fans looked up this pastor, they were horrified to discover that water is indeed wet. See, Brittany and Jax shared and tagged the pastor, Ryan Dotson, on their Instagram stories after confirming that he'd be in their wedding. And people did a little digging. In 2015, Ryan tweeted that the devil wanted to legalize sin. What was he talking about? Oh, right. But honestly, his Facebook was the jackpot of intolerance. He was horrified over a transgender deacon, condemned the gay lifestyle, and was unapologetic about his views that little girls should like little girl things and little boys should like little boy things, like fishing and shit. He used the Pulse nightclub shooting as an excuse to call out radical Islam and liberal America. The man agreed with fucking Ben Carson, for God's sake. Cringe. Very cringe. Honestly, there were so many problematic posts. It was obvious that this pastor did not align with the values that Bravo and Jax and Brittany's boss Lisa held dear. Why the hell would Jax and Brittany ever allow someone so hateful towards so many different groups of people to officiate their wedding? The question echoed through the Bravo space for months, with other Bravo celebrities even joining in the disgust. But if you really looked at Jax and Brittany's past storylines on the show, I don't really think it was that surprising that their officiant of choice was homophobic, to say the least. I mean, this was a few minutes ago. I don't need to remind you of Sherry's reaction to Jax's homosexual anecdote from the roast, or point out any sort of undertones to the Kristen-Brittany hookup rumor. Anyway, as the internet exploded with backlash, the pastor's comments were addressed on the show when Lisa Vanderpump called Brittany to let her know what was going on, as if she didn't already know. Brittany assured Lisa that she'd seen his comment, singular, and spoken to him. He assured her that he wasn't homophobic, but Jax didn't want anyone to think that they were co-signing someone with beliefs that were questionable at best and hateful at worst. I mean, Jax co-signing homophobia? Personally, I couldn't imagine it.
I know you want to be Mr. Investigator and figure it all out. Why don't you figure out your girlfriend's issues, huh? Figure out first of all, what sexuality she is, because it changes every day.
Well, there was a lot of ambivalence about what to do here. Brittany found it hard to cut Ryan off because he was a family friend, and she wanted to believe him when he said that he didn't harbor any hateful views. Plus, despite Brittany's new progressive life in the liberal LA bubble, they were both following the same book.
Maybe I'm very naive in the whole religious game, but I thought pastors were supposed to be neutral.
Some pastors go by the Bible, and I believe in God, and I'm a Christian woman. This is really hard for me.
Jax and Brittany's co-stars were horrified that they would even consider keeping Ryan as their officiant. They also weren't buying that they'd only seen one comment. If you looked at Jax and Brittany's comment sections, there were countless call-outs about this pastor. They were both also being tagged underneath Ryan's actual posts. So it was kind of hard to believe that they were really as ignorant as they said they were. Eventually, the backlash pushes them to replace Ryan with someone who aligned more with their beliefs and the beliefs of their wedding guests. Well, some of them, anyway. It was gonna be Lance Bass, one of Lisa Vanderpump's closest friends and frequent visitor to Casa Aramara, Joe Francis's sprawling Mexico estate. More about that in my Joe Francis video. This rubbed Sherry the wrong way because she'd been hoping that Jax and Brittany would have their wedding officiated by a pastor. Brittany's dad did agree to do a prayer, so they'd be somewhat covered there. The whole situation was extremely uncomfortable and took a strangely long time to resolve, but ultimately it all worked out in the end. Jax and Brittany were ready to say I do. Everyone flies out to Versailles, they exchange vows, and they dance for the first time as a married couple to Shania Twain's You're Still the One. Honestly, on the nose. Post-wedding, Jax and Brittany are ready to go full suburban family and leave the toxicity and party scene of Los Angeles behind. Sort of. They go halfsies on $1 million modern farmhouse in the valley, and Brittany returns to work at SUR to pay for it all. She tells Lisa Vanderpump that they're ready for kids immediately, and they can't wait for their fresh start together. But Jax is sliding back into old habits. He's rage texting Brittany and all of their friends, smoking a bunch of weed, getting the munchies and binge eating, gaining weight, and then using Adderall to lose it all. He starts obsessively going to these workout classes like 2 or 3 times a day. It gets to the point where Brittany tracks his phone and questions if he's actually exercising. Season 8 of Vanderpump Rules basically just illustrates that Jax and Brittany's marriage is off to a rocky start. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, Season 8 was Jax and Brittany's last on Vanderpump Rules. In fact, 2020 brought a lot of major shakeups to the show. Both Jax's ex Stassi and ex-cheating partner Kristen were fired for calling the cops on Faith after suspecting her of stealing. To be fair, Stassi had a lot of racially insensitive remarks come back up during this time, but I feel like that was kind of the main one. They also fired another cast member, Max, and Carly Bible's ex-boyfriend Brett, whole nother lore baby, for saying the N-word. It was a lot. As for Jax, a 2017 tweet resurfaced of him supporting the narrative that Faith was a criminal, leading to calls for him to be fired as well. Plus, like I said, that last season was a total disaster for him. It ended with him telling Lisa Vanderpump that Vanderpump Rules was his show, not hers. Jax admitted that he micromanaged production and refused to film if the location was too far. In one instance, he told them that he wouldn't be driving all the way up to Malibu and even texted his co-stars to try and sabotage the shoot. So it was kind of a mixture of semi-quiet public outrage and behind-the-scenes drama. Brittany, as Jax's wife, was collateral damage. And she too had allegedly made a racist comment to Faith. According to Faith, post-cheating, she called Sheena Shea to mediate an apology phone call about the situation. But Brittany was still very hurt and refused to hear her out. In fact, she allegedly yelled over Faith and called her a nappy-headed hoe. Brittany completely denied ever saying this to her, but Faith has maintained that it happened and that her family heard it as well. As for Sheena, she stayed the fuck out of it, honey. Bravo fans also unearthed an old post of Brittany's that seemingly supported a Sandy Hook conspiracy theory, which is absolutely disgusting. I feel like these didn't really get as much traction as the Faith situation, but I don't know. I truly feel so ill when people speak badly and spread lies about Sandy Hook victims and their families. I just feel like it is one of the most deplorable, low things someone can do. Fuck you, Alex Jones, as well, but hey, just my opinion. At this point, Jax and Brittany would have to move on in life without the Bravo train, and they did their best to do that. In September of 2020, the couple announced that Brittany was pregnant. The following year, she gave birth to their son Cruz, and it appeared that they were living a semi-normal life. They did their social media sponsorships, they hung out with the Vanderpump Rules cast despite no longer being part of the show, and everything felt okay. Of course, Instagram, out of all platforms, is not always an accurate peek into someone's life. For Jax and Brittany, it really was a highlight reel during this time. They also started a podcast together called When Reality Hits to keep their fans updated on their lives post-reality TV. And then in January 2024, Bravo fans got the news of a lifetime. Jax and Brittany would be returning to television after all on a Vanderpump Rules spin-off called The Valley. The Valley was allegedly a more mature version of Vanderpump Rules. After years of serving goat cheese balls by day and binge drinking by night, Jax, Brittany, Kristen, and a few more friends were now mowing their lawns, raising their children, and getting in bed by 10. They were also pantsing each other at barbecues, secretly downing vodka in the pantry, and having emotional affairs, but what else do you expect from a show in the Lisa Vanderpump cinematic universe? Unfortunately, The Valley is really where Jax and Brittany's relationship took several darker turns. Now their hardships were escalating from cheating and belittling language to more intense substance abuse, controlling behavior, and financial manipulation. Buckle your seatbelt now because shit's getting worse. So here's where The Valley picks up. Jax and Brittany's son Cruz is now a toddler. Brittany is fresh off the surgery table from her chin lipo operation. And Jax is opening a bar in Studio City called Jax's. Although he personally invested nothing and it's sort of an add-on to another bar, he's finally going to be competing with the Tom Toms and Something About Hers of the Bravo universe with his very own business. Well, not his own, but you get it. And just a few short years into their marriage, Jax and Brittany are already facing major hurdles. Their son Cruz, despite hitting a bunch of early milestones, has stopped talking. Brittany notices his stimming and meticulous way that he lines up his toys, so she thinks something may be going on with him. Brittany and Jax aren't intimate anymore, and his insults toward her have amped up. She tells her girlfriends that he comes for her looks now more than ever. After all, Brittany is a mom, right? She carried and grew a human being for almost a year, and her body isn't the same as it was when they met. She's already self-conscious, and Jax is just making it worse. On top of all of that, Jax is showing more and more concern for Brittany's drinking, which isn't entirely new. Brittany has had stomach problems for years. Even on Vanderpump Rules, she was vomiting a lot and had to go to the doctor, who diagnosed her with an ulcer and told her to stop drinking. Now on The Valley, she's still throwing up pretty often, and it's kind of presented as something that's associated with her drinking. Every time Brittany gets sick, Jax tells her to stop drinking, which doesn't seem so bad until you hear how he says it.
Stop drinking. Want to have more kids? Act like a mom.
On a group trip, Brittany's nausea leaves her bedbound for an entire day. And even though everyone else there maintains that she was not drunk, Jax goes off on this loud, rude tirade about how Brittany has a drinking problem and she can't be normal like everyone else. The man even walks into the bathroom as she's throwing up to yell at her. It's actually quite disturbing. Clearly, there is some deeper medical issue going on. I know she said she had her gallbladder removed at some point. This has nothing to do with drinking, and she needed compassion instead of screaming, but Jax is gonna Jax. This situation puts the friend group on high alert because, of course, it's not normal to regularly scream at and embarrass your wife in front of your pals. And that's a really hard aspect of their relationship problems for Brittany, too. She has a husband who publicly comes for her every chance he gets. So we've got Jax coming at Brittany for her drinking and her body, a lack of intimacy, a new bar opening, and milestone issues with Cruz. We've got everyone around them noticing these problems and commenting on them. And despite all of this, Brittany maintains that she is ready for baby number 2. For perhaps the first time, I actually agree with Jax on this one, who is absolutely not ready for another child. There's just way too much going on here. So this is yet another point of contention. Honestly, there really aren't many good moments between Jax and Brittany on the Valley. Every single episode is just another argument, another Jenga brick pulled from their teetering tower of a marriage. It's a total disaster. To make matters worse, Jax still cannot escape the cheating allegations. Rumors are flying on social media about him stepping out on Brittany again. But at this point, I feel like saying that you heard Jax cheated is like saying that you heard McDonald's is handing out raw chicken in the snack wraps. You get a visceral ugh at first, but then it's like, well, okay, that's not that surprising. Near the end of season 1, Brittany starts openly talking about the possibility of divorce. Jax, on the other hand, keeps saying that neither he nor Brittany believe in divorce and that they would never separate. So we've got conflicting perspectives there too. But the interesting part about reality TV, especially as it pertains to Jax and Brittany, is that the timelines unfold differently on TV versus in real life, right? Of course, a reality show is giving you a delayed look at everything that goes down in their lives. We were sitting there in 2024 watching shit that went down in 2023, you get me? So as all of this is airing and Jax and Brittany's marriage is kind of up in the air, we're watching all these conflicts, we also have their lives unfolding online in real time. By the time The Valley premiered, Brittany had already gone on their podcast and addressed the status of their marriage.
Jax and I are taking time apart, and I made the decision to move into another home to take some space for the sake of my mental health. I won't get into too many details right now, because this is still very hard to talk about, and I'm taking things one day at a time. I don't know what the future holds, but right now my focus is on being the best mom to Cruz. And I love you guys. Pray for us, and everything will be just fine.
The next day, Jax gave a statement to Page 6 and said that he and Brittany were not splitting up. Yeah, she did briefly move out, but she was back in the house and everything was fine. So what is the truth? At the Valley premiere that March, Brittany reiterated that she and Cruz were living in their own house. And Jax seemed to go along with it then. The reasoning that she gave the press for their split mirrored what we would see on the show. Lack of agreement over whether or not to have a second kid, lack of intimacy, Jax still not going to therapy, and so on. So after this announcement of their split, we're watching it all play out on season 2. From the show, we learned that the reason why Brittany and Cruz moved out of the family home instead of Jax is because he refused to leave. So she had to uproot their lives to get the space that she so desperately needed. It's salt in a larger wound because a recurring theme throughout the relationship was, I take care of you and you do nothing, I financially support us, you sit on your ass and do nothing, blah blah blah. And it continues here, which infuriates Brittany because she paid for half of the down payment for the house. She pays the utilities, she pays the property taxes. Her name is on the loan even though he's responsible for paying the mortgage every month. I mean, she's just as much of a homeowner as he is. Everything he does, she does too. Not to mention, with her social media following and brand deals, she's the breadwinner. She makes more money than him. We also see Brittany confront Jax about the lie that she and Cruz had moved back in, and an additional lie he told on House of Villains, which, excellent TV. If you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. But basically, he got on that show with a bunch of other classic reality TV villains and said that Brittany had a stroke when that literally never happened. He claimed that he would start going to therapy to repair their relationship, and he definitely made those therapy appointments, he did. But did he show up to any of them? No. The office was too far. So even post-separation, things are not getting better between Jax and Brittany. I'm watching this show like, oh my god, this is horrible, he doesn't get it, nothing's improving. Oh baby, it gets so much worse. Okay, so throughout this separation, Jax is spotted with several women because, duh, it's Jax. And you know what? They're separated, whatever, better than cheating, right? However, he goes onto their child's iPad because Cruz uses Brittany's old iPad for his little games and things, and I guess because it's connected to her phone via iCloud, he's able to read her messages. And he discovers discovers that Brittany has actually been talking to this guy, Julian. Now, Julian is actually a friend of Jax's whom he met through Lala, because Julian used to date Lala. Everything is always connected, especially with this friend group. Julian and Brittany are texting up a storm. There are even sexy pics exchanged, and this sends Jax into orbit. He loses his shit. He flips a coffee table during an argument and hits Brittany in the knee. He throws 2 bar stools, her laptop, and her Stanley cup. He punches a wall. She claims to have him on the ring camera shoving her into the rose bushes. Y'all, it's dire. Shortly after this, Brittany returns to their house again to find that Jax has covered all of the security cameras. She finds a lipstick smudged cup in the refrigerator. There's an unknown woman's thong on the bathroom sink. At this point, she's really starting to become terrified of this man in all ways. She doesn't even want to be around him anymore. She's getting, I'm just gonna say it, abuse from all angles. It's physical, it's verbal, it's mental, and it's financial too, but we're gonna get there. Brittany gives Jax an ultimatum. He has to go to rehab for his substance abuse and mental health problems, or she will divorce him, take full custody of Cruz, and get him cut off from his income. Remember, they're still doing their podcast together at this point. They don't really record together, but he still gets his episodes and receives ad revenue from the show. Of course, they're also on the Valley, which is another huge source of income. If he was going to continue on with such a horrific crash out, he was sure to lose his spot in the cast. So Jax decides to go to treatment for a month, and on one hand, he really seems to be improving. He tells their mutual friends about the positive changes he's making, and shares that rehab is really opening his eyes to his destructive behavior. At the same time, he's rage texting Brittany about her partying without him while he's away. He's upset that she hasn't really checked on him or sent any sort of care package, and he threatens to leave rehab early. It's like he's trying to come across like he's a changed man, but the old Jax just can't help but keep popping up. But rage texting aside, Jax has financially fucked over Brittany to a whole new level. After refusing to leave their family home and forcing Brittany and Cruz into an Airbnb, Jax decides to rent a condo. He wants to get a fresh start when he gets out of rehab, right next door to his best friend and homosexuality rumor spreader, Tom Schwartz. I like saying homosexual like Sherry. Homosexuality rumor spreader. As a plus, this means that Brittany is able to move back into the house with their son. At the same time, this is a huge red flag for her because now she's thinking, is he gonna pay the rent for his condo and the mortgage for our house even though he's not living there? Maybe he's doing this to downsize and then stick her with their 5-figure mortgage. This fear is what pushes her to finally speak to a lawyer about her situation and inquire about moving forward with divorce. Unfortunately, before she has time to even meet with the lawyer, she finds out that her suspicions were correct. Jax was trying to stick her with the mortgage. Actually, he already had. When she moved out of their house, he quietly stopped paying. Never told her, never asked for help, just stopped paying. This is a really big problem because Brittany's name is on that loan, so it reflects very poorly on her to be on the brink of foreclosure. This would completely fuck her credit and affect her ability to buy another home in the future. When a mutual friend confronts him about this, Jax claims that he totally has a plan to pay off the mortgage. He's relinquishing a portion of his income from their podcast to pay it all off, but he doesn't have the funds at this very moment. This is a lie, or a secret plan. I don't know, honestly, I can't really tell. Jax sends Brittany this long-ass email talking about how he contacted the bank to try to pay off everything he owes, and they told him that it was too late because the home was already in foreclosure. Jax tells her that since this is the case, he will not attempt to pay anything anymore. He wants to sell the house and move on from all of this. So no, there was no plan to eventually pay off the mortgage. And even if there was, his share of the earnings from their podcast made no sense. He hadn't recorded a new episode in months at this point. When Brittany makes it to the lawyer and explains everything that's been going on, the lawyer is shaken to her core. When you put it all together like, yeah, he punches walls and throws furniture, he watches me on our security cameras, he faked a heart attack once. Yes, he did. He stopped paying our mortgage months ago, which sucks because my name is on the house. But unfortunately, our home purchase was complicated by the fact that Jax was in $1.2 million of debt with the IRS. They were gonna put him in jail unless he put that debt on our house. So I had no choice but to put my name on it and make this happen. Our mortgage went from $8,000 to $17,000 per month. I'm still Brittany. They even took $100,000 out of my personal bank account because I'm his wife. Now he's moving out into this condo and wants me to take on the mortgage. Oh, and he also hasn't been providing for our son whatsoever, which I thought was kind of okay because he was taking care of the mortgage. But now that I know that even that's not happening, what should I do? Yeah, divorce. ASAP. The lawyer advises her to file as soon as possible to ensure that she's the first one to do it, and to let Jax know that she really is done with his shit, and so it is. When Jax leaves rehab, he's really nervous about reintegrating into his life. He claims to have unpacked a lot of trauma in treatment, and now he's gonna get his shit together for real. Even though he won't completely stop drinking, at least now he's medicated for his bipolar disorder. And to the larger friend group, he appears to be making improvements. But Brittany receives the same old tired Jax special day in and day out. He admits to her that he stopped paying the mortgage not because he couldn't afford it, but because he found those messages between Brittany and Julian and he wanted to hurt her. Now he feels like they should absolutely sell the house because of blah 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 misogyny blah.
Brittany needs to know this house needs to go on the market right now. No woman needs a 5-bedroom house, 7-bath. You are a woman with a child. Get something like a 3-bedroom that's manageable as a woman.
But Brittany has no intention of selling the house. In fact, when Jax returns to collect his belongings and get out for good, he notices that she has already turned it from their family home into a place of her own. She has turned around all of their photos together. She got a new doormat that doesn't have his last name on it. And she's seemingly ready to finally move on. She even makes plans to remove his name from the mortgage and deed. Jax decides to throw away some photos, including one of Cruz with Brittany's dad, and turn the rest of the photos back around. He even rehangs their wedding photo to psychologically torture her, I guess. At this point, Brittany doesn't even want to acknowledge his existence, but he just won't let up. And to make matters worse, this guy Frank Dremen is apparently Jax's biggest fan and won't stop commenting on social media in defense of him.
I've known that Jax has had this burner account, Frank Dremen, for a very long time.
Frank Dremen. Frank_Dremen.
He told me about it, that was his account that he would go look at things. I don't know if he forgot that I knew about it, but underneath all these posts, all of a sudden, I see Frank Dremen.
Just when you need a laugh. Anyway, after this, Jax is finally served the divorce papers. For some reason, he acts all shocked and asks her to put a pin in it so he has a chance to improve himself post-rehab. And what I find very interesting about this is Tom Schwartz's reaction when he broaches the idea. Tom tells him that they shouldn't postpone the divorce and he shouldn't move back into their family home because if he does, he'll probably go to jail. I'm sorry, why would he go to jail? Is he gonna flip out and throw a table at her again? Like, even Tom Schwartz knows that he is unhinged. It is abundantly clear that this man has not changed a bit. So Brittany decides that it's time to make him step up. She tells him that he will now be responsible for half of Cruz's medical bills. At this point, Cruz is going to speech therapy multiple times a week and getting help with an autism diagnosis. This all happened when Jax was in rehab. This definitely isn't cheap, but Brittany really sees the importance of early intervention, so she's paying a lot of money to get him help. To Jax, this is total bullshit. Why would he pay for half of his son's medical bills and give Brittany full custody? In fact, now that he thinks about it, he deserves alimony. Brittany makes more money than him, so why not? This will, of course, take effect after he waits until the last possible day to sign the divorce papers. I think I've made it pretty clear that Jax Taylor has had major nerves since his very first appearance on TV, but at this point, years of unchecked narcissism have turned him into even more of a monster than we probably could have imagined in the early days of Vanderpump Rules. And while Brittany acknowledges this and absolutely hates the way that he has completely fucked up her life, she still finds it difficult to let go of a 10-year relationship. At times, she messages him very nicely to talk about Cruz's schooling, their friends' life updates, and changes that she's making to the house. In other moments, he's rage texting her and she's telling him that she hates him. It confuses Jax, probably because it reminds him of all the time she's forgiven him for his heinous crimes. I mean, let's do a little throwback to a few minutes ago here. After he cheated on her, they hooked up more than they had in months. Even post-separation now, she'd asked him if they should hook up one more time as a final hurrah, I guess. So this is kind of the baseline that he has grown to expect, even this late in the game. By the time the season 2 reunion rolls around, Jax and Brittany still have not finalized their divorce. This kind of thing definitely takes time, and Jax is prolonging it because he's unsure if he'll be kicked off the show and be eligible for alimony. Seriously, he wants this alimony so badly. But Brittany is allowing Jax to visit his son relatively often, as long as he passes regular drug tests. And he is, aside from weed, along with talking to a sobriety coach and attending AA meetings. They talked about his substance abuse a lot on the reunion, and even though it was painfully obvious to anyone watching Vanderpump Rules that he was using, I definitely didn't realize how bad it truly was. Jax started using coke in the early 2000s in Miami. Classic. And Brittany said that by the time she came around, he was leaving the dinner table every 20 minutes to load it up, Dorit dinner party style. Every time Jax came for Brittany for supposedly drinking too much, it was a projection. And she protected him. She never threw it back in his face that he was the one with the problem, and she apologized on his behalf every time he made an ass of himself in front of their friends. It was all so bad that Brittany feared that she would find him dead. Thankfully, he's improving now, but she still doesn't trust him, and his promiscuity still bothers her. A fellow castmate, Danny, was spreading this rumor that Jax has been hooking up with his staff at the bar, and Brittany suggested that he get a vasectomy ASAP to avoid winding up with 20 baby mamas. Honestly, not a horrible idea. Over the course of the reunion, and really her time on Bravo, Brittany has brought up time and time again that Jax is dirty and has a dirty dick that he needs to keep in check. I think I'll just leave it at that. At the end of the day, even though Jax appears to be improving, Brittany feels like he's putting up a front for the cameras. He won't look her in the eye when he apologizes to her, and he still exhibits his same crazy-ass behavior behind the scenes. This man is still rage texting, not taking his bipolar medication regularly, and attempting to spy on Brittany through their security cameras, even as he sits at the reunion and claims to have changed. So where are we today? Well, back in July, Jax announced that he would not be returning to the Valley for season 3 after some honest conversations with his management and the show's producers. I mean, the backlash from his behavior on the Valley was immense. After years of watching him compulsively cheat, lie, and cause major problems, sticking the mother of his child with a huge mortgage bill, throwing furniture at her, and regularly verbally abusing her were the final straws for Bravo. Did the network and producers enable a total madman for years? Yes. We have to be honest with ourselves that on Vanderpump Rules, Jax really was the #1 guy in the group. He created drama and propelled it forward in a way that shot the show into the stratosphere. And as soon as he and the other problematic cast members were fired in 2020, the show completely tumbled downhill. We must be honest about that. I guess now they're filming a Vanderpump Rules reboot that features entirely new people? Who the hell knows? I probably won't be watching, honestly. I think it's time to just let it die. But we can acknowledge the entertainment and storylines that he brought to the show, while also, dare I say, holding space for the fact that not checking this man empowered him to be a menace that no one was prepared for. And Brittany, God, rewatching all of this go down was so painful. Like, the words "leave him already" ran through my mind 500 times, even though I already knew the ending to the story. Her love for him and fear of leaving really pushed their relationship to last about a decade too long. But it appears that Brittany is finally moving on. She has a new boyfriend who may or may not still be married, going through his own separation. That's a doozy on its own. His wife/ex-wife claims that they're still together. Yeah. As for Jax, all we can hope for is his signature on those divorce papers and continued treatment to help repair all of the damage that he's caused. Hopefully this was a decent summary of everything that we watched go down. I still think that you should watch Vanderpump Rules and The Valley if you haven't already, because there's just no way to fit a decade of drama into a YouTube video. I can't get every single detail that was ever shared, although I did try my best to include everything pertinent to the story. Oh my god, this video took me so long to put together because there's just so much information and it got so dark so quickly. I had to take some breaks from watching, but I did my best. And if you like reality TV recaps, internet history, and pop culture, I'd love for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I also do a weekly show with my husband Will where we talk about niche, social media, and celebrity news, so go check that out if you want to. You can also follow me on TikTok and Instagram for more content like this. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching all of this. This was a lot, but I will catch you later. Bye!